Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sideline to Speedway. I am your host, Makai Winfrey, joined by Parker Mary once again, and as always, same thing every week, every episode. I keep teasing it like we're going to change it. Maybe. Don't hold your breath. Parker Mary's going to be off the show in 2 weeks. No.
Oh my gosh. I've been fired.
Yeah, he's fired, guys. No, but on a serious note, how everybody is doing, I hope everyone is doing well. I know I am. I hope Parker is. Parker, actually, let me just ask you straight up, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, I'd say. It's a late Friday night, and just enjoying myself. It's great.
So, obviously, we're recording late again, as always, so we got to talk about Brazil, which happened this past weekend. Obviously, there's no race this weekend, so not too much of a time constraint on our part. So, we got to take an extra day to relax. That was fun.
Yes.
That was nice, but we also have some talent tier lists, which we're going to get to first. But before I do that, I want to preface this list by saying one thing. There are 37 drivers ranked. 36 made a full-time attempt last season. Obviously, you'll hear all those names. We also have included Connor Zilic as he is going full-time this coming season. There is no confirmed driver for the 10 at colleague. We are presuming it'll be Ty Dillon. It could end up being somebody else, but we're going to go with the assumption it's Ty Dillon. So, you will hear those 36 plus Connor Zilic being ranked today. I do want to give a quick moment to preface the way we ranked as well. At least I'm pretty sure we did it about the same. I did a lot of it based off of performance over the last couple of years with this list. I did it a little bit taking into account how I think their actual how their actual talent is, and excuse me, a little bit of their equipment, a lot of bit of their talent, and a lot of bit of their performance. Kind of how I chopped it up. I don't know about if that's how you did yours.
Yeah, for me, it was kind of a combination of performance and talent and just overall, in some cases, resumes are taken into consideration as well. I feel like that kind of goes more in line with talent for sure. And then, of course, recent performance plays a factor as well.
Equipment shouldn't matter too much in this, but it might slightly depending on the driver we're talking about. You'll hear that as we get there. But I'm not going to waste any more time. I know everyone wants to get to this, so we are going to go one by one. You'll see it pop up on the screen as we each list our driver for that position correspondingly. So from 37 to 1, let's start. And I'm pretty sure we have the same driver here at 37, so let's throw it up on the screen. But I've got Cody Ware.
I also have Cody Ware. Just haven't seen much out of Cody Ware in his career. He's just kind of, I think, most people's consensus last place driver.
I'm not smiling because it's funny. I'm more smiling like, man, it's so sad that there's a consensus just worst driver. Like, just everybody in agreement. It's Cody Ware. Like, that stinks. I hate doing that to somebody, but I have my personal thoughts of him. But even just as a driver, looking at his performance, we saw what Haley did in a Rick Ware car for a year, and then Ware got back in the car and did astronomically worse. So I think that speaks values to Cody Ware's level.
Sure.
So that's it. Cody Ware at 37. We won't dwell on that too long. Let's keep it moving here, keep it pushing. Up to 36, I have Riley Herbst.
I also have Riley Herbst.
Okay,
We're in agreement so far.
Okay, 2 for 2 here.
Yeah, Riley Herbst, some would argue he never should have made the move from Xfinity to Cup. He did, and it was a very disastrous first season. So he has a lot of work to do if he wants to move up these rankings.
I do think that he has a little bit of potential. I'm not super high on him by any means, but he is here now, so let's give him the opportunity to try and prove himself. I don't think opening a third 2311 car while in a lawsuit was really beneficial to him, so that also didn't help, to be fair to him. But we'll see if he can overweigh that in the coming years. This is maybe where we start to differ, because I think those two are pretty consensus, but we'll see. I'm going to let you go first. Who is your 35?
At 35, I have Ty Dillon.
I also have Ty Dillon. Okay,
there we go.
3.
There we go. Maybe we can go all 37.
If we go all 37, that'd be quite impressive. I don't think so.
Yeah, but,
I don't know.
Take the wheel on this one.
Yeah, Ty Dillon's been kind of... Look, he's like the driver you plug in when you just don't have a plan. He's like, all right, yo, Ty, you're a decent enough race car driver. You can at least keep the equipment on the track. Can you come run this season for us? Yeah, sure thing. Pay him a decent amount of money, and he'll do his job.
We're talking about drivers that are all top 50 stock car drivers.
Oh, no, yeah, absolutely.
Like, you know what I mean? They're all great drivers. It's just hard to win and be great in the Cup Series.
Especially equipment.
So this is not a knock on them.
Yeah,
They're
this is
not as good as 30 other people in the world.
I mean, like, yeah, like put Ty Dillon up against just any random dude. I'm pretty sure Ty Dillon will
Yeah, 100%. Like
kick
there's
some
some
butt.
Xfinity and truck guys who are better than a few Cup guys, but
Orion.
yeah, for example, but they're up like Ty Dillon's a top 50 stock car driver in the
Yeah,
world, no doubt.
absolutely. No doubt about it. But yeah, 35 is where I've got him. 34, I have Noah Gragson.
Okay, this is our first disagreement. I have
Okay.
Justin Haley
Oh,
at this
wow.
spot. So for me, I feel like Justin Haley's ceiling is a lot lower than a guy like Noah Gregson, and so that's why I have Haley here. His Rick Ware season was very promising, but last year super underwhelming in a Spire car that should be pretty good. I get people are saying it's the third Spire car. It's really not. That 7 car has been around actually the longest of those Spire cars. So you would think Haley would do the best, but he actually performed the worst. So last year really knocked him down on the rankings for me.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Haley, I disagree, but you'll see where I have him momentarily. I don't know. He and Noah Gragson are in the same grouping for me. Like I have it grouped. So there's this ranking, and then there's a group of drivers who you could interchange. Gragson and Haley are in this group for me. So you'll hear Haley's name. It's a tongue twister in a moment. But I have Gregson here. I think Gregson has performed worse in slightly better equipment, which is kind of the key to me here. I think front row was on par with Spire, and he did worse. And I think that LMC, when he was there, as bad as they were, was better than a Rick Ware car that Haley drove the next year. So I don't know. That's just kind of the vibe I get from Gregson. But I understand having him where you do. But let's go look at what are we at 33? Let's go look at 33 real quick. This is
Yep.
where I have Justin Haley.
And this is where I have Noah
Okay,
Gregson.
okay,
So
all
you
right.
flip flop them. So for me, the reason I have Gregson higher is because I do think his upside is better because of what I've seen in Xfinity. Noah Gregson was able to kind of go head to head with guys like Ty Gibbs, who, as we see later in this list, are a lot higher than what we have Gregson and Haley. So just for me, I feel like I've seen higher highs out of Gregson. I feel like he has a little more talent, even though he's performed worse so far in the Cup Series. So I have him one spot higher than Haley.
Yeah, I only have Haley here ahead of Gregson. Most of the reason being that I just don't think Noah Gregson is cut to be a cup driver. I think he's good at his role of being kind of I don't want to say the Justin Allgaier like it's an insult, but being kind of that, you know, gateway driver to the Cup Series. Like, can you beat Noah Gregson? Are you capable of going and being then a successful Cup driver? That's kind of like the steps when I think of like rungs of like a ladder. He kind of feels like one of those rungs to me. Not a knock on him
Interesting.
as a driver. I think he's a good driver when it comes to just a general driver, but I think there are about 30 or so drivers I'd take, and Haley just being one of them. I think I've seen a little more in Cup.
Yeah.
So that's that. But let's look at 32 here. Who do you got?
Right here, I have Austin Dillon, who,
What?
look,
What?
yeah, look, resume wise, he has a much better resume than a lot of the guys ahead of him. But honestly, I'm not super high on Austin Dillon right now because his performance has taken a massive drop in the
30,
last couple of
30
years.
second. 30 second.
I have him 32nd. I do. I do have
So
him 32nd.
a guy who has won twice in the past 2 years, whatever the reason you want to use that he won, he still has 2 wins in the past 2 years, is 32nd on this list.
Look, if NASCAR was a 36 race Richmond schedule, he would be one of the best drivers on this list, but it's not. If you look at what he's done outside of Richmond, he is a bottom 3 driver in the field over the last 2 seasons. And that's
That's
not an
insane.
exaggeration.
That's
That's not an
insane.
exaggeration.
That's insane.
Outside of
Look at
Richmond,
he's driving.
he's not even he's
What
never been
about
top 30 in
he's
points in the last 2 years. RCR is better than all the cars that he's racing down there. You think that an RCR car is as
I
bad as a
think
Rick Ware car?
he's not racing a Rick Ware car.
He's a
How
couple spots ahead of it in points.
he finished like 26th, 25th in points. Rick Ware was 36th. There's 10 spots.
He was lower than that.
Austin Dillon was
If you
about
take
20.
out Richmond, he's lower than that.
Okay, no, because this goes back. You can't take out one race of the season and be like, oh, well, this is what the points look like. That's not the
Well, no,
case.
I'm just saying like we take out super speedways for certain drivers, so I think
Okay,
it's just fair to say
so then,
that.
well, okay, let's make that argument. Let's say you take Austin Dillon out, or Austin Dillon's Richmond win out, basically.
I was like, take Austin
Sorry,
Dillon
I
out,
was
then hey,
had saliva, whatever. Uh, take out his win from Richmond. Take out everybody's Richmond race, right? Austin Dillon is still inside the top 27 in points. So having him there based on whatever, if you think RCR is bad, or not that bad, and he's running that bad, he's still 27th in points. I mean, I don't think he's running bad enough to be behind a couple of these guys that you're having ahead of him, but whatever.
He's close with a couple guys. I'll give you that, but I
Whatever.
got him pretty low
I
here.
I got Todd Gilliland next. I think this is a pretty reasonable answer. He hasn't done very much in the Cup Series. Obviously, he had a second place about a month ago at Talladega. It was nice to see him run well there. He's always been a great plate racer. He's underrated on the road courses, but aside from that, haven't seen too much out of him. He still struggles on the intermediates, which is something that in Cup you really got to adapt to. And the short tracks, very hit or miss. And for that reason, and again having no success and not having any Xfinity success and just going straight from trucks, I'm led to believe that he's 32nd on this list. But
All right.
we'll move. And you know what? The same thing I said about Austin Dillon, you might say to me about this next person. But at 31, I have Daniel Suarez.
Wow. Okay. At 31, I have Ricky Stenhouse, another driver similarly to Austin Dillon,
Dude,
with a pretty good resume. But I think right now the talent of the older guys like Stenhouse and Dillon is not as high as some of these younger up and coming guys. That's why I have them lower. So the same logic for Dillon applies to Stenhouse. Just at the end of their career, the talent is really low at this point. There's not much upside left, and they're not really going in and outperforming their equipment.
I would say that's crazy to say. I'm not going to rehash the entire thing I just said, but it is worth noting. He was top 16 in points for half of the year in that 47 car, which I don't think is very good. It is worth noting that. So
No, yeah, see, he
and
put in a good performance
and
early
to
in
have
the year.
him 31st feels disrespectful to me. But I have Daniel Suarez. And the reason I have him here is basically because I don't think I've seen a driver get nearly as many opportunities in competitive equipment and just do nothing with it, seemingly. Let's think back, right? He went to Joe Gibbs. Fair be it, he was very green when he came into the Cup Series, right? He still had a lot of motorsports experience, but he was very green in NASCAR. 2017, not a bad rookie year. 2018, it felt like he took a little bit of a step backwards, honestly, in 2018. He left Joe Gibbs. He goes to Stewart Haas, right? Tony Stewart, Gene Haas, they're both very high on him. They thought he could be very good. Doesn't make the playoffs in the 41 car, which, just keep in mind, had made the round of 8 the year before with Kurt Busch, who obviously was a better driver than Daniel Suarez, but still, at least making the playoffs feels like a standard that year. Then he goes to Gaunt Brothers discount that year. Then he goes to Trackhouse in 2021, and then 2021 through 2025, he's there. He had accumulated 2 wins, right? Ross Chastain has accumulated triple of that. Shane Van Gisbergen in one season, by the way, accumulated double of that. So you can say road courses all you want. You could say Chastain's so much better all you want. The point is you shouldn't be that far off your teammates. He had 2, maybe 3 top 20 points finishes. That's atrocious when your teammates are generally inside the top. Well, when your teammate the entire time has been inside the top 10 in points, basically. That's not acceptable to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I got Suarez at 31. At 30, it'll make my reaction seem a little bit confusing, but I now have Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Okay, so I'm one spot higher. At 30, I have Cole Custer. For me, Cole Custer has not done anything in the Cup Series, but every time he goes into the lower leagues in Xfinity, he looks fantastic. So I think the talent is there. I think he deserves to be in the top 30, but we've yet to see him do much in Cup, so I have him in the 30 spot.
I have Stenhouse 30, and the only reason I had the reaction I did mostly was just because I think it's kind of insane to have Ricky Stenhouse Jr. behind a couple of the guys you have him behind. Not necessarily because he's ranked where he is, just I think the drivers behind him make less sense right now than the other drivers that I have behind him. I think there are worse drivers that are in front of him, but overall, Stenhouse, again, while I did mention he did finish, he was in the top 16 at points, he also then fell out to the top 30 in the second half of the year. He had a horrible stretch. He hasn't looked the same driver that he was when he came out of Nationwide almost 15 years ago. And, I mean, at this point, it's fair to assume we're not going to get that. I mean, if he gets to a better team, it's fair to assume he could run well, but I'm not too high on that idea. Um, as for my thoughts on where you have Cole Custer ranked, it's funny because at 29, I have Cole Custer. So
There you go.
uh,
All right.
I'm not too much into disagreements here. I mean, the only reason I have him ahead or one spot higher up is just because I think, again, same thing you said. Great in Xfinity. I think he's not had the fair chance to prove himself in Cup besides the 1 year that had COVID, by the way, where he won a race, made the playoffs, didn't do much. I don't think Stuart Haas was a competitive and capable team. I don't think Haas Factory is a competitive and capable team right now. We'll see with the Haas and Hendrick alliance going into next year how that will do because that could help him out with Chevy backing, but we'll see. Overall, though, I just think it's hard to see talent like his, who he's competing against Bell and Reddick and all those guys in Xfinity, just vanish into thin air.
Mm-hmm. So at my 29 spot, I have a guy that you've already named it, Todd Gilliland. I think if we made this list a year ago, he would be much closer to the top 20 because he had a really good 2024 season and has a pretty good resume in the lower leagues. But this last season, getting even though points wise he was right there with Zane Smith, performance wise he was not even close. I mean, he was getting smacked by Zane Smith all year.
Even though he beat him in points somehow, by the way.
Yeah, which I cannot believe. It was just Zane Smith had all kinds of bad luck, but he performed better than Todd all year. Todd Gilliland just something was not clicking. I don't know if it's the the car change or what, but he really fell off a lot last year. And so I think some of the talent is well, I think all of the talent's still there. I just think the performance needs to be stepped up again. So I've dropped him down to 29.
I will say though, um, his performance, how good or bad ever you think he did, will be masked by the fact that A, he beat Zane Smith in points, and B, that Noah Gragson was significantly worse in the same car. So I think that'll also help him not have to worry about losing his ride, like some people may be speculating. That won't happen. He'll be fine. He'll be there as long as I think front row
Yeah.
is functioning. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
as we move further up this list, up to 28, this is where I have his other teammate, Zane Smith. I know you're going to say this is low. And you know what? Even a month ago when I did original rankings before I changed it up, I actually had him higher. The reason I dropped him is mostly just because I think about it more and I'm like, I need to see more. Like, I see like the consistency, but I need to see more just up for, like performances. Like Carson Hocevar, for example, who we'll get to later, he has these performances where you're like, oh wow, this is what he's capable of. And then he'll be brought back down to reality running 25th the next week. But you have a glimpse of it. Zane Smith, aside from maybe one Bristol race this year, I didn't get that. I need a little more of that. If I can get more of it, I'm inclined to move him up because I think he's capable, but we'll see how that holds in the future.
So I'll talk about him more once I get to him because I do disagree with you on a lot of fronts. But in my 28th spot, I have another driver you've already named in Daniel Suarez. Again, not very high on him. I do think he has a lot of talent on road courses, which I think goes a long way because there's a lot of road courses on the schedule. So if you're good at road courses, that takes up a pretty good chunk of the season. So he's a little bit higher than some of the guys who are better at ovals. But ultimately, I can't have Suarez that high when, again, for the same reasons you mentioned, every time he gets in a good car, he underperforms. And I know some massive Daniel Suarez defenders, and so this is going to hurt them having Suarez this low. But I can't find a way to bring him higher than 28th.
You know, I saw a statistic. Actually, I shouldn't say saw it. I came up with the statistic. So it's not something it's not something I invented, but I wanted to see. So I went through, and this was with a couple races left in the season. I did every driver's average finish without their DNFs, right? So his was actually ranked 16th this season, which is what's crazy to me that he has that high. There's one key thing about that stat, though. You have to take the fact that they're still crashing into account. You could say his fault or not. Why is he running in some of the positions he's running in to be in those wrecks? Like, why are you running 27th at Phoenix to be in a wreck like that? That's just my question. So, again, he's capable, but the capableness and the word potential only can last so long, and at this point, we're 10 years into a career. Can't validate it anymore. But we'll move up a little bit, and here's someone who really defines potential to me. 27, I got Austin Cindric, which I am going to get a lot of hate for because Austin Cindric, he's in a Penske car. He's in a Penske car. He finished top 10 or 12 in points without his penalty that in regular standing. I don't care. Let me ask you a question, Parker. Of the 4 years we've now seen him in Cup, has he been anywhere close to his two teammates? Anywhere? Just
I mean,
bluntly. Just,
there were some times this year he was close to Logano.
but like just overall for an entire,
Only in the regular season. I mean, obviously when the playoffs came around, that was not the case.
but like
Overall, not particularly.
in more than a three stretch for even just 5 races in a row, have you seen Cindric run consistently with his teammates?
No, he was not on the level of a combined 4 championships in Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney. He was not on a four championship level. You are
Okay.
right.
Was Austin Cindric consistently as good as Ty Gibbs? I'm gonna get to him in a second at the end of the season, who everyone likes to dog on.
Not at the end of the season, but throughout the whole season, he was better.
What is the main characteristic of Austin Cindric that everyone had for him coming out of Xfinity?
Nepotism? I don't know.
Road courses.
Road course racing?
Road course racing. Where has he been on these road courses? The one
He's
big
been
thing.
nowhere on road
Nowhere.
courses. I'll give you that.
And I'll tell you, I don't take him as a great oval racer besides a couple short tracks and maybe Kansas. So I don't know. I'm not high on him. I'm really not. I think the next gen car, like for him and a couple drivers, is hindering them. I think he's really hindered by this car, but I can't rank based on the what if here. I have to rank based on what I've seen. I haven't seen anything great for me to be able to move him up.
Wow. I don't agree. I'm going to talk about it more when I get up to him. But at my 27 spot, I have Michael McDowell.
What?
Yes, talent
That low?
wise. Yeah. So to me, Michael McDowell doesn't really come off as like a super highly talented driver. He comes off as a gritty veteran at the end of his career who's scrubbing off good finishes and kind of getting Spire to where it needs to be. He's doing his job. He's doing what Spire hired him to do. But in terms of like talent, he's other than Texas this year, he's not really going out there and like showing the world how it's done and like showing hyper speed and hyper talent. So I can't have him super performance wise. He's up there, but talent wise, I just don't think the talent is really there for an older driver like Michael.
McDowell, I don't know. I mean, he's done what he's been doing for like 5 years now, which is consistency. He's not somebody who does that. Even at front row, he wasn't somebody who really showed up at the front of the field besides a couple road courses. He just did his job. He ran top 20, top 20, top 20, and he'd point his way to be decent. It's just not, not the case. He didn't run up at the lead as much, but he was still in the top 15 a lot of the season. I think you have to take that a little bit into consideration. I'll get to where I have him ranked in a minute, but we'll move it up to 26. I want to hear, who do you have at 26 first?
I have John Hunter Nemechek in the 26th spot. I thought he had a pretty impressive season this year, but ultimately, he was great in Xfinity, has a really good lower league resume. But his first tenure in Cup, he really did not do that great. But I think he's showing more signs of that talent that we'd like to see this year with Legacy. A lot of positive encouragement out of him. But ultimately, if you ask me, is John Hunter Nemechek a top 20 most talented driver? I would have said yes. But when I make this list, I had a hard time moving him higher than 26. So he is 26, but I will say this. I think he has a lot of talent, and he could move higher in the coming years.
I'll get to my thoughts on him because I have him a little higher, of course. At 26 for me, it's funny. I mentioned him just previously. I do have Ty Gibbs here. I think they are this. I think him and Austin Cindric are the same driver. That's why I pointed out. I just wanted to ask you who I thought did better. Who you thought did better? Just because, the one main characteristic is we mentioned the stat. Ty Gibbs was 11th of drivers in average running position across the entire series after the first 12 races of the season. That's an entire 2/3 of the season still. The second 2/3 of it. Picked it up. They got better. And he got up to like 15th in points. So, I don't know. Really impressive. But again, the elephant in the room is he hasn't won. He hasn't won, and he's only got one playoff appearance in 3 years for Joe Gibbs. You have to be able to at least make the playoffs in this type of season. That was a year he should have. This was a year he should have done it. And he didn't. And he didn't win. I'm not giving up on him yet, like people are. I think they're still there. There's still more there. But I need to see it this year. This is going to be a really big year for Ty Gibbs. 2026 has to be the year he at least wins. If he doesn't make, he'll make the playoffs. Theoretically, assuming we keep the format the same, he will make the playoffs if he wins. But we'll see on that.
Wow, that is just absurdly low, I believe. With him being one of the most highly touted prospects we ever had, and for him to have 2 decent years in Cup, and for him to be that low, I don't know about that. I really don't. I don't agree, but
You're gonna
I'll
see.
get into it.
I think it's more of an experience for me too. I think you'll see the next group of guys kind of have a little bit of the experience over him, just overall.
I think that's maybe where our list differs. Is to me the older drivers are typically lower on this list because I don't think they have a lot of like their talent left. I feel like that as you age, you lose some of that, and you become more of like this gritty older driver who doesn't have necessarily the raw talent or raw pace to go out and win, but you still have the experience and the ability to go fight for your position. So I think we our lists do differ in that way.
We'll see as we go on. Um, but yeah, I got Ty Gibbs at 26.
All
Um,
right. At my 25 spot, I have AJ Allmendinger. So AJ for me was not super impressive in his first stint in the Cup Series outside of road courses. Never really did anything with JTG or Penske for that matter. He got a couple road course wins here and there. Actually, did he only win one road course with JTG? I think he only won
one with
one,
JTG and two with
and then
colleague.
the one with Colleague.
Two
Yeah.
with colleague.
Well, a couple with colleague, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, his first stint was not great, but his stint with colleague, he's kind of revived his career. So I have to have him decently high on this list. And also he had some really great runs this year as well. You think back to races like Homestead, he's finished top 5 a few years in a row there now. So, yeah, I have Allmendinger a little higher on this list than some of the other younger talented guys, but it seems like you have him even higher. So, kudos to you for that.
Yeah, I'll get to him in a minute. I actually have a decent bit of thoughts on him. But my next one, and I'm finally going to get the one that you got out of the way a lot earlier, I have Austin Dillon at 25. And my main argument here is just that I think RCR stinks. Just flat out. I think they're terrible. And I think he's running the car just about where it should. So, with that being said, I think I could put him 25. He's also got 2021. I mean, these are in the past, right? I'm thinking deep, but 2021, 2016, 2020, I think, wasn't that bad. 2018 wasn't that bad in retrospect. These aren't bad years for him. He was a consistently top 15 to 20 driver on talent in the sport. Yes, now because we have more younger drivers coming through, he is falling down this list. That's kind of why I think also the performance is dropping for him. But I don't think he's lost talent as a driver. I think he's this high for a reason.
All right.
But
I've given you my thoughts on him.
I don't know.
I
Well,
do agree. I think he was really good in the Gen 6. He had some really
uh,
great years during that time,
I
for
mean,
sure.
him, Ty Gibbs, Cindric, and yeah, those three particularly are guys I think. Those three,
Having him ahead of Ty Gibbs,
but
I
those
can't
three
agree.
in particular are the guys I think that are affected most. And them, Custer, and one other driver who we'll get to, I think are affected most by the next gen.
Okay.
So we'll get to that. But 24 is next, and now I'm gonna say a name you haven't heard yet. We got Ryan Priest 24, which I know is gonna sound criminally low to some people. I want to talk to all of you RFK fanboys for 1 second, real quick. This is getting
Oh,
personal.
okay.
So, what is the one main thing that we found out in the middle of the season as it was reported? It was that Brad Keselowski gave his team to Ryan Priest in a report. It came out that he gave his team to Ryan Priest so that he could take the new 60 team and just put the 6 on it, basically. So, Ryan Priest was driving Brad Keselowski's car. Ryan Priest, who I do think is obviously worse than Brad Keselowski anyway, ran worse than Brad Keselowski did in the same car. Brad Keselowski, in the brand new car, drove it from the back of the points, almost passing his own now driver. So, I think that hurts him a little bit. I also think he's closer to Cole Custer on talent than people want to give it credit for, because I think they performed about the same in the 41. That being said, not a bad driver by any stretch of the imagination. Definitely deserves his cup seat. But I could think of a couple drivers I'd prefer in the 60, and I think he's also just kind of closer to Cole Custer than anything else.
Okay. Obviously, I'll get into him a little bit later. At my 24 spot, I have Zane Smith, which is a guy you had earlier. Zane Smith, I'm a lot higher on him than a lot of people because he has a really good resume in the lower leagues. He showed a lot of talent in there, and then now moving up to Cup, he came in and kind of smashed Todd Gilliland, who was the guy who was front row's guy, their up and coming superstar, and Zane Smith went in and performed better. Zane Smith had some really great runs this year. Really great on some short tracks, good on some mile and a halves as well. Still needs to kind of become a more well-rounded driver, but the talent is there and the youth is there, so he has plenty of time to put in good performances. So I like Zane Smith a lot. I have him at 24.
I gave you why. I think he's a little lower. I think he can move up though, so I'm not really mad about that one in particular. Um, at 23 though, I want you to go, but I'll let you explain first. But I got Michael McDowell 23.
Okay, so at my 23 spot, I do have Ryan Preece. For the same reasons you mentioned, I'm not as high on him as a lot because he kind of performed the same as Custer in the 41, and he really has never been good in Cup until this year. I mean, let's be honest. He really has not done anything until he got into the 60, and people like to use equipment as an excuse, but I mean, he was getting beat by his teammates. It's not like he was leading the JTG charge or anything. So I don't know. I'm just not super high on Priest, but this year was a step in the right direction.
There were a handful of races where he was the fourth car at that Stewart Haas team between him, Gregson, Barry, and Briscoe. There were a handful of races.
Yeah, getting beat by Noah Gregson, a guy who we both have way low on the
I know,
list.
and I know Ryan Preece got, I think, second in points out of the four of them. That's not indicative of how that season went, but that's in the past. We'll have to review that maybe in the future for content. We'll go back in time. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. McDowell 23 for me. Similar to what you said, I just think he's a really consistent driver, but being consistent only does so much when you're not consistently in the top 15 or 10. So you have to be able to elevate that a little further, and I don't think he's done that. He hasn't really shown winning speed like I was hoping I'd see out of him. And I don't know. That's just kind of why I have him here. I think moving him up would just be a knock on anyone else because I think everyone else here has shown capable winning speed at any point throughout this current season. So we'll get to that. We'll get to that as we get there, but I think McDowell 23 is about as high as I could put him.
Mm-hmm.
Moving into 22, I have a person you've already named. This is where I have John Hunter Nemechek. I
Decently high.
I didn't argue you much before because I wanted to talk about this. I think John Hunter is closer to being a playoff caliber driver than anyone wants to give him credit for. I think if LMC was not LMC, and him and Eric Jones both drove for a different Toyota team, you know exactly what I'm talking about, I think both of them would have made the playoffs this year. Either of them, whoever you put in that car. So I think John Hunter, especially in the second half of the season, really showed what he is capable of. I think he still lacks some awareness on the racetrack, which is kind of a critical thing when you get towards the middle of the field, front of the field. But the raw overall speed is there. I think it's in him.
All right. At my 22 spot, I have Austin Cindric. So for me, I still think Cindric has a lot of talent in him. He obviously had a decent resume in the lower leagues, specifically the Xfinity series. His competition was not incredible when he was winning a lot in Xfinity. And obviously, as we mentioned, he was really good on road courses, but he's getting better and better each year in Cup. Which I guess is expected. You know, he was in his fourth year last year. He should be getting better. But I do think it's a little unfair to compare him to Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney, two guys who I think are two of the most talented drivers. One is literally maybe the most successful on the grid right now, and then you have Ryan Blaney, who I think is on pace to become one of the most successful on the grid. So I just think it's a little unfair to compare Cindric to those guys when they're clearly on another level.
Well, I think you can also, the reason I have him low is you can also compare him to guys he's kind of in a rookie class area with, right? Think of Chase Briscoe. What did Chase Briscoe do in the 14? He was running about where the 2 car was, and the 14 was significantly worse, right?
I don't know about all that. I would not say that.
I would say go look at the
Briscoe
points.
was way down.
Briscoe was 16th in points. Cindric was about 13th, 14th. They were about
What year?
20 last year, the year before that, 2022.
No, there was one year Briscoe was like in the 40s.
It was 20. No, it was 23. It was 23. 24 and 22 though, right where Cindric was in points. And yeah, you could use.
He was only 22. I'm gonna be honest, because I know in 23 he was way down.
24, he
And
was running 17th in points before he won, like in the chase list. And Cindric was 16th. I think they were right next to each other in points. So I don't know, man. I just think that's a little bit like okay. Uh, and then also you look at the other drivers that were
I
kind
do
of.
have Briscoe way higher
I
though,
mean,
to be
yeah, we
fair.
both
So
do, but
yeah.
I'm just saying, like that's an example. I mean, I look at other drivers. I think Ty Gibbs outran him on just overall speed. I think Cindric's more consistent, but I've seen more raw speed out of Gibbs. I don't know. There's just examples in my head I can think of those guys having moments, and I just haven't seen that from Austin Cindric. But yeah, I don't know. Uh, keeping him moving here. Oh wow. 21. All right. I'm gonna just. I don't really have much of a reason for ranking him here. I think this is a pretty concise and good ranking for this guy. I got Josh Berry at 21.
We finally agree
We
once again.
agree.
I also have Josh Berry at 21. Finally, we
I,
got something. It's been a while, but we're back.
I
We're
don't.
back.
I actually don't have much of a reason. I think this is pretty much. When you look at the flow of what I've said, it kind of makes sense. He's performed. He's older, but he still gets the most out of his equipment, even though he has a wrecking problem, which is why he's a little lower. That's kind of explains why he's where he is.
You want to know how talented this grid is? All of the 20 drivers ahead, I think, can win a championship in the right circumstances. Josh Berry is the first guy that I don't think can win a championship in certain circumstances. But that's just how good the grid is. He's close. I just don't. He's a little older right now, and for a guy at his age to be in his second year in the Cup Series, it's not a good recipe for future success. So she's phenomenal on short tracks. He's a top 10, top 5 driver on short tracks, but there's a lot more to it than that. So I have him at 21 as well.
It's funny you say that because the guy in 20th for me is the cutoff. He's the guy that I don't think could do it. Everyone ahead of him, I think, could do that. So that's a funny
Okay.
thing. Um, I'm interested to see who that driver. I don't. I honestly don't remember. I'm interested to see who that driver is that you end up having in there that I don't. Um, but at my 20, I have AJ Allmendinger here. Um,
That's high.
I have him here just because I think he's kind of figured out the ovals a little bit better. I know he's obviously way older, but I think him figuring it out, running better consistently in points, dragging what I think is a bottom 3 team on the grid with colleague all the way up into the top 20 and fighting for a playoff spot for most of it until the cut line just got too far up. I think all that being considered, I think he's been really solid for colleague, but I can't put him higher just because, frankly, he is just a little bit behind those next group of drivers.
Okay. I'm not too mad at that. At my 20 spot, I have Eric Jones.
I
Now,
felt it.
Eric
I
Jones,
felt it.
yeah, look, so he's the first guy that I think under the right circumstances can win a cup title. So that's saying a lot. 20 sounds bad, but he's right in the thick of
That's
things.
right
If he
about
gets in a
that's
good
about the halfway point too. So
Yeah, if he gets in a good car, the sky's the limit for a guy with his talent. I think he got dealt a bad hands. He did not get much development time with Gibbs. And then rather than getting another good car like guys like Logano and Briscoe have, they've gotten second chances in their career. Eric Jones really didn't. He immediately got shafted to a bad car. Now I think with the Jimmy Johnson connection and the upcoming legacy, how good they're getting, Eric Jones could potentially get something done with legacy. Maybe he doesn't have to go to another team. Who knows? But his performance is getting better and better. He's a Darlington master.
that guy's got to
So
figure it out.
yeah. So like I have him at 20, and I think under the right circumstances, he could be a champion in the future.
I'm just gonna say my 19. You said all the things for me. I have Eric Jones at 19. I don't even
Hey,
need.
there
I
we
really
go.
don't need to echo anything. You just said it exactly for me. The only detail I'd like to mention is everyone asks me why do I think John Hunter is worse than Eric Jones? Why do you look at the performance this year? Why don't you say that Eric Jones is worse? I'm like, well, they're running in the middle of the field. I think if you move them to the front of the field and you ask me who I think would run better, I'd say Eric Jones because I think Eric Jones doesn't fold under pressure. I think Eric Jones is a more of a front of the field driver compared to John Hunter when it comes to the Cup Series. All that being considered, I would take Eric Jones ahead of him, but I have Eric Jones at 19 here.
I can't believe that's an argument. People think Nemechek's better than
It's
Jones.
actually a serious argument. It's a very
Wow,
serious argument.
that kind of shocks me. But anyway, I feel like we're both definitely higher on Jones than most others. But anyway, at my 19, I have Brad Keselowski. For me, look, I know it's probably lower than a lot of people would have him. In the second half of this year, he showed a lot of signs of brilliance, but just for me, overall, over the last few years, he's kind of been underwhelming. Now, I don't necessarily think his goal is to go out and win races and win championships. I think if he set his mind to it, he could absolutely win a championship right now. But I don't think that's where he's at. I think he's trying to build his RFK team to get to the top. I mean, as we talked about earlier, he gave his equipment to Ryan Preece. He gave himself the third new RFK car. So for me, I think the talent is still there for Brad, but the performance is certainly not. So he's a little bit lower on my list. I don't think his goal is a championship anymore.
I just think a guy that dragged his way from 33rd or whatever it was in points to 16th in that car is quite impressive. That's why I have him higher. I'll get to more detail later, but that's why I have that. Okay, who's your 18? Because I have a feeling ours might be very different.
So my 18, this was the hardest guy to rank of all these guys, and it's because we have yet to see him run a full-time season in the Cup
Okay,
Series.
yeah.
It is Connor Zilic. So, we have yet to see him full-time in the Cup Series, as I mentioned. So for me, this ranking is going completely off of the raw talent that we've seen him have in the lower leagues. So close to winning an Xfinity championship. Won what, 11 races,
10. Well,
10.
whatever way you. Oh, technically 11. He won one in 24, so take that with
So
a
he
pinch
has
of salt.
11 career Xfinity wins, 10 last year. So he's just phenomenally talented, but I can't really put him much higher than 18th when he has yet to run a Cup race as a full-time driver. But I think he may very well be in the top 5 by the end of next year.
Uh, I'll get to him in a moment. I have some thoughts. At 18, I have Carson Hocevar. When I think of the big three of just overall just pouring talent of drivers when they're really young drivers, I think of Zilic, I think of Corey Heim, who we talked about technically earlier, and I think of Carson Hocevar. And unfortunately for him, he is who I think is the worst of those three. Um, but that's not a knock. That's me saying like, look at how great the field is. Look how much great talent there is. He has had some incredible performances in that 77 car, more than he should, honestly, but way more than he should. Um, but I can't put a guy higher than any of these 17 who hasn't won a race in any of the top two series in NASCAR. So I can't do that. Just I have to put him 18th, but I think the raw talent is there. I just need more performance.
Okay.
Uh, I'll go first here. At 17, this is a weird group. You're gonna disagree with me. I have Shane Van Gisbergen at 17. Now, there is three ways people will rank him, and I think this is why you won't get too upset with this. It's just because he's figuring out the ovals. We all know how good he is at the road courses. So, with that being said, I have him 17 because I'm waiting for him to fully figure it out. But it seems like he's starting to get there, which is a little scary. But for now, I'm going to put him 17.
All right. In my 17th spot, you're not going to like me for this. I have Bubba Wallace at 17.
No,
Look,
no,
look.
no. Who?
Here's the thing for
You
Bubba
can't name
Wallace.
me 16 better than him.
I can, because you know why? Because Bubba Wallace has had 7 underwhelming seasons of his Cup career, maybe 7.5, and then he's had one phenomenal half year this year in 2025.
What?
So just yes, I 100% believe that.
7.5 underwhelming.
2018 underwhelming, 2019 underwhelming,
Okay, whoa, whoa, whoa,
2020.
whoa, 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 hold on. 2018 an RPM car that was literally at the back of the field because it was technically the worst full-time car on the
And he
grid,
did
in my
nothing
opinion.
with it. He did not
He was at
overperform.
points running better than William Byron, who was in a Hendrick car. Just keep that in mind.
Okay, well, William Byron had the
I
worst
don't,
rookie
I
year.
don't. It doesn't matter. They're both rookies. So
He's certainly not on William Byron's level. I'll tell you
no,
that
but that's not
much.
what I'm saying. But 2019, fine, he wasn't that great. 2020, he had clear steps in the right direction. Clear steps in the right direction. 2021, brand new team with 2311. 2022 wasn't great. Definitely lacked in comparison to Trackhouse, who and his teammate Kurt Busch at the time. Yes, I'll give you that. The next 3 years, 23 and 24 specifically, he was battling inside the top 10 to 12 in points, which is a chase cutoff area in most formats. He was inside the top 10 to 12 in Chase's points. You can go look it up. And guess what happened every time? There was just too many winners. The whole knock was that he couldn't win. He didn't win. He didn't have enough upfront speed that it was just consistent. Then this year, which I know you were about to say, then he kicked it into gear. He started winning. He was up front more. He did the exact same thing, though, and he had just had more DNFs. That's the whole difference. So I think that's unfair to him to rank him that low because of that.
Yeah, I have not seen much out of him in Cup yet to really rank him high when he hasn't had like the he didn't have like phenomenal hype coming out of the lower leagues, right? He's never shown like insane speed and insane talent, like some of the guys that I have ahead of him that we'll get into coming up. So just I can't have Bubba super high, but I do. He's absolutely on the right track. I think if we would have done this before the season, he would have been around 20th. Now he's closer to top 15. So he's moving in the right direction. I'll give you that. He's done almost nothing in Cup to impress me over his 8-year career.
I don't know. Whatever here.
He's just
Whatever.
consistently
I,
been
I, well,
underperforming in his
I
equipment.
don't think he's underperforming though. I think you're comparing.
He's not underperforming anymore,
I think people
but he's been
compare him
underperforming for 7 of
e-
his 8 years.
even compared to the last 2 years, comparing him to Tyler Reddick. I think A is unfair considering how everyone views Tyler Reddick. That's just an unfair comparison. If you want to say the same thing that you said for Cindric and Logano.
He's not on Reddick's level, yeah,
I mean,
which is why he's not up
I
there
don't
on
think
his
anyone
normal rank.
thinks that, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's unfair to compare him to that. And then he only runs a couple spots and points below that. So I don't necessarily, like, I don't think that's really fair to him to hold him to that standard. But you know what? We're gonna agree to disagree here. Um, Whatever. Go. Who's your 16?
All right, at my 16, this is the one guy that I have that you don't up here in the championship guys. I have Ty Gibbs at number 16. So for me, Ty Gibbs, one of the most hyped prospects we've seen coming out of the lower leagues. It's not as much as Zilich is right now, but it's closer to the hype around Corey Heim right now. You know what I mean? Probably a little more than Heim. I'd say it's in the middle of Zilich and Heim. So he was fantastic in the lower leagues, won the Xfinity Championship, and he moved up to Cup and had a slow start, but he really has not been awful. He's been significantly worse than his teammates, I'll give you that. And I think considering how Briscoe has been in the 19, it's been a really bad look for Gibbs. But he has not been like awful as people would make it out to be. He's getting better and better. I don't think this year was as good as 24. I think 24 was certainly his best season. But considering how slow his start was to 2025, that could have easily dejected him and ended his season, but it didn't. He turned it around. So to me, next year is a huge year for Ty Gibbs. If he can go in and win races and make the playoffs, he stays up here in talent. If not, I don't think he can keep riding the coattails of all the hype he had a couple years ago for much longer.
I think it's funny because you just echoed everything I said, kinda, except you have him 10 spots higher, just because you're valuing the hype and the what we think can have been out of him instead of what we've just seen. I think I just took more of the performance into account than anything else, so that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
why I have him there. I agree with what you said, though. There's nothing I disagree with in that sentence. My 16, and this is as high as I could put him, which means we have the same. Well, no, we have one difference in our top 15. Otherwise, I have Connor Zilic here. Um, I can't put a guy in the top 15 that hasn't ran a full Cup season yet. As much as I am very high on the guy, he is now my favorite driver in the series. I can't put him in the top 15 just because I have to see him run against these guys week in and week out. I haven't seen, besides the Coke 600, I don't believe he ran a normal oval race. So that's, I mean, I don't know. Wow. The talent, a guy winning 11 races in a year and a quarter, basically, maybe even a quarter of a quarter, is impressive. That's insane. Should have won the championship by basically every metric last season. He was injured twice, by the way. Keep that in mind. And still would have won the regular season title. So all of that is just insane to me. I don't know. That's just a guy that we need to be able to wait and see for and see how he performs.
Yeah. So then at my 15, I have Carson Hocevar, someone you've already named. Carson Hocevar, incredibly unproven. When you actually look at his resume, he's literally done nothing in the Cup Series. But we all know he should already have a win. He should already have maybe a couple of wins. But his luck when he gets to the front, whether
Oh
it's
my
blown
goodness.
engines, blown tires, running out of fuel, he has
Spire
the
has
worst
failed him.
luck. It's crazy. He should have a couple of wins right now if we're being real. But the luck just continues to the car fails him. Something always lets him down. So for me, Hocevar, incredibly impressive. Don't look at the points. Don't look at the stats. We all know how good he actually is. He's a phenomenal driver. He is absolutely going places. I have him at 15.
He is one of the few drivers that you just genuinely can't look at numbers for because the eye genuinely is what shows you the talent of him.
It's all about the eye test with him.
Yeah, most drivers you can look at numbers, they kind of correlate, but he just doesn't have that going for him. Okay. All right, so we're gonna get into a sensitive subject right here. This is a very sensitive topic for some people, not me, but some people. At 15, I got Alex Bowman. Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question, just straight up, yes or no? Is Alex Bowman the guy to be the fourth Hendrick car? Just yes or no?
No, I don't believe that deep down inside. I think there's
I
better out there.
I think deep down there is. I think he is the perfect guy to not move off of until you're ready, until you know you have a guy. But if they know they have a guy, like I don't know, man. If I'm Rick Hendrick and Carson Osavar is like, hey, I want to come drive the 48 car next year, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, that's a pretty tempting offer. I'm just saying. So
Sorry, Alex. I'm in
I,
that situation. I'm taking Carson
I'm gonna
Hocevar,
say
no
like
doubt.
the upside is just there. Alex Bowman's a phenomenal driver. This is not a discredit on him, but the story will always be until he either goes and wins a championship or something of that nature. The story will always be he's the fourth Hendrick car because he just is. Because we haven't named the other 300 cars. I know they're all way up on our lists. So he's the outlier. He is the outlier. When you really look at the talent of these drivers, I'm sure most people would have those three ahead of him. He just happens to fall low on the totem pole. And it's not his fault, but he just happened to get paired up in a really fantastic team, honestly.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know. Not a knock on him. He's a great driver, but that's just the thought of him being ranked there. Um, at 14, I actually think you might have him in this similar range. I don't know if you will.
Let me
I
say my
have.
14 first. I think it's
Oh,
a cleaner
you want to?
transition if I say it first. My 14 is Alex Bowman, actually.
Oh, okay. Actually, yeah,
For
that
all the
makes
same
sense.
reasons you said. I don't have anything new to add. Bowman, it's actually very similar to me to Bubba Wallace. 2025 was a huge step in the right direction to show that maybe there is some talent that we didn't know they had that's ready to go. So this was an encouraging year for Bowman, but I still just can't put him on the level of all the guys I have ahead.
It's You know what? That's fair. That actually makes sense. The direction I was going is very different. So you know what? My 14 is Kyle Busch. Um, and I'm actually higher. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm actually higher on Kyle Busch than most people, and meaning that must make you really high on him. I have him 14. He's been great before he got to RCR. Obviously, I mean, look, he had what 60 wins with Joe Gibbs, 2 championships. Um, I don't know. He was fantastic. I could go on for ages. RCR, I know he is. I don't want to beat a dead horse because I'm sure you've heard it all over media. I'm sure your friends have talked about it. Whatever, right? He is driving a terrible RCR car, point blank and simple. So I don't think I need to echo the fact that he is dragging that car to borderline top 15 in points and outrunning his teammate by 10 spots. And it all of a sudden happened when he went to RCR. I think there's not a mystery here. He is obviously still a very talented race car driver. I think he could win had he been given like any of the top 6 teams on the grid, honestly, by this point. But he hasn't been.
All right.
I'll go 13 next. This one makes sense for me. I've got Bubba Wallace at 13. He is the very end of this group that I have him in. The very end of this group, and you'll see why. He For all the reasons I basically said to you earlier, is 13th, plus the fact that I think every year he just continues to get better. Like, he's one of the few drivers that with age, he is still continuing to get better and better and better and not kind of staling out. So, I don't know. Seems like there's just more in him that we just keep dragging out. Every time that everyone's like, oh, he can't do this, he just kind of gets a little bit closer. A little bit closer. Eventually, someone's going to push him to a point where he's competing for a championship, and I know a lot of fans aren't going to like that. So, I don't know. That's my thought, though.
All right. I've already talked about him, so I don't have much to add. At my 13th spot, I have Chris Buescher, incredible Xfinity prospect, and then was, for me, a bust in NASCAR for the first 5 or so years of his career. Didn't really do much. He got to JTG, what was kind of underwhelming there. Got to Roush before RFK, just the Roush team when he got
Roush
there
Fenway.
in 2020, 2021. And he was just decent, you know what I mean? Wasn't lighting up the world, and it just kind of felt to me like Chris Buescher is just kind of fading off into obscurity. But then of course 2023 happens, and that just completely skyrocketed his stock for me. And he's had 3 pretty great years where he's in the 8 to 12 range in the points, and he is running well, can contend for wins. So I like what I see out of Chris Buescher. I don't think he has I don't know if he has the raw talent of some of the guys ahead, but I still have him at a really great spot in 13th.
All the reasons you just mentioned is why I have 12th. Like literally
There,
everything you
what a
just said.
clean transition.
Yeah,
What a
everything you
clean
said is
transition.
why I have him 12th. The only thing I could even possibly add is that remember, guys, he did beat Chase Elliott in a full season format for a championship. Just
He did do
that is
that.
a thing that happened. Keep that in mind.
Very impressive. All right. At my number 12 spot, I have maybe the other than Connor Zilic, the hardest driver on this list to rank. And that's Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch right now, you can slice it any way you want, is a moving caution flag. He just is. He is bringing out cautions every single week. And we're not talking like bad luck cautions. We're talking self spins and driver errors. But at the end of the day, Kyle Busch is Kyle Busch. He could be right up there with your Larsons and your Logano's and your Blaney's, the guys who are putting up the statistics and winning championships in modern day NASCAR. But the problem is he's wrecking every week. So I don't know where to put Busch. I put him at 12 because I think if you give him better equipment, he could absolutely win a championship, if not multiple right now. But it's just not going great. His tenure with RCR has been awful. I don't think he's been given very good equipment. So for me, he's right here at 12th. But give him a good car, he could skyrocket to battling for the top most talented driver in NASCAR.
He said everything I said about him earlier, so I don't know. That beats that. That kind of gets that. Um, I just want to nail out my 11 real quick. I actually don't have much to comment on why I have him here. I have Tyler Reddick at 11. Some people will call that low. Some people will call that just about right.
That is pretty low. I'm gonna be honest. That's lower than
Um,
most have him.
I don't know. He just kind of feels like I never know what I'm gonna get with Tyler Reddick, and I don't like that about a driver where I don't know the next. I feel like I don't know the next week with Tyler Reddick. That's not a thing I like about my drivers, and he kind of embodies that. So it's kind of just why I have him 11. And plus the 10 guys ahead of him, frankly, except for one, are more proven. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that. I'll obviously get into them later. At my 11th spot, this one's going to be tough. A tough pill to swallow for a lot. I have Ross Chastain at my 11th spot. So Ross Chastain is in pretty poor equipment right now in the Trackhouse car. Let's be real. And when the Trackhouse car was good, he made a Final Four in 2022. So for me, I am 100% on board with the fact that Ross Chastain is a talented driver. I have no doubt about that. I just don't think he's as good as the other 10 above him. I mean, we are getting into fantastic race car drivers up here. And I just don't quite see as much talent from Chastain as I do for the 10 ahead of him. It's not a knock on Chastain. It's just we live in an era where the field is so stacked with talent that he's not even in the top 10.
I think it's very, very interesting you have him there because he's very close to being ranked right there for me. Because um, him and a couple other people are very close, as I mentioned, and that'll kind of lead me into 10, who is Brad Keselowski for all of the same reasons. I think actually, everything I mentioned earlier, and that I think he is currently not winning because he's driving a Roush car. He's that's not a knock on the team, but he's not winning because he's driving a Roush car. You gave him a Penske car again. I think he'd be winning right. I think he should have a championship right now. Simply, I think he would have won this. I think he would have won the 2024 title. Honestly, he was driving really well that season. Really wasn't making driver errors, and he finally broke through and won again. So I think if he was in the Penske car, he would have won. But 10th is about as high as I can push him, simply because the lack of success we've seen. So
Wow. That is much higher than I would have him, but there you go. I like the boldness of it. That's for sure.
I mean, who are you going to put ahead of him? Who is I going to put ahead of him? I mean, Cody Ware?
Oh, you're not going to put Cody Ware ahead of him. Look, the thing with Keselowski to me is just, um, I just think he's lost speed over the last few years. His last year with Penske, he was not great, and then with RFK, he's taken a back seat to Chris Buescher. He really has.
I think
There's
that's by
no other way to
choice.
say it. I mean, yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. I think it is by
Yeah, it's by.
choice,
But I
but
don't think you can knock a driver by choice by doing that. I don't think
I
that has anything
mean,
to do with his talent.
yeah, I mean, I think so. If I were to do that, I could say that I could go back in 2020. I would have had Keselowski in my top five, but I we haven't seen it in 5 years. But anyway,
That's a fair reason. Whatever.
yeah. So at my number 10 spot, I have a guy you've already named, SVG. Shane Van Gisbergen is in my top 10. He will be, I'm saying it right now, he will be number two at the end of this year.
Wow, that's a bold
He will
statement.
be the number two most talented driver on this list if we did it at the end of 2026. Shane Van Gisbergen, watch out, everybody, because we might be cooked. The whole NASCAR community might be cooked if he starts winning at these ovals, which he is so close to doing right now. And now he has an off season to get in the simulator and build off what he just did this year. It's so over, guys. I don't know, but SVG is absolutely a top 10 driver right now. How many did he have? 5 wins last year?
What, Roval, Watkins Glen, Sonoma,
Chicago Street
Chicago,
Course.
and I'm forgetting one, but I don't.
So minimum, he had at
He had
least
at least
4 wins
four.
last year
He had at
on
least
just
four.
road courses.
Mexico, sorry, there he is.
Mexico.
Five.
So 5 wins for SVG. This is just unbelievable. He's just on another level on the road courses. He's doing something that we haven't seen any other road course ringer ever do, which is dominated the road courses. We've seen them win a couple races here and there, but SVG is just on another level. So and I think talent-wise, he's one of the most talented race car drivers in the world. So after 1 year, I think he's already a top 10 most talented driver in NASCAR.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair statement. I told you earlier. I think we're going to have him ranked very differently, and I can understand it just because he is so hard to rank because of what are we thinking we're going to get with him on the ovals. Now, seeing it, I'm inclined to move him up, but I got to wait a little more. You're obviously going a little bit more on like, okay, he's ready to go. So that's kind of how we see it. So very different. But I see, aside from one driver who I believe it or not, at least it's a segue for me. Number 9, I have Ross Chastain. So meaning the 8 drivers we have presumably ahead are the same. But yeah, I have Chastain at 9. I think he suffers from the equipment thing that we talked about. I mentioned at the top that equipment will affect mine a little bit. I think his is kind of hurting because of it, but I can't move him ahead of anybody ahead because all of them have made a Final Four in the either have a championship or have made a Final Four in recent memory. So he simply just gets out accoladed.
Yeah,
I think he's also in the worst car. So
yeah, I like it. I have no problems with the placement there. At my number 9 spot, I have Tyler Reddick. For me, Reddick, this year was a huge hit to him on this list. Honestly, if I did this a year ago, he would have been right there at the top 5. You know, he made a Final Four. He was really carrying the 2311 team. This year, though, he got outbeat by Bubba Wallace. He just did. He was just not quite as good as Bubba. Went winless all year. That's the craziest fact to me. Could not break through and win a race this year, and he didn't really get super close either. Like it never really felt like he had a dominant weekend, a dominant car. Maybe you can correct me, but I don't really remember
the only time where he really had winning speed off the top of my head was Richmond, but that obviously ended way early.
Oh yeah, that's right. When the 2311 cars were really good and they both had issues. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, it's just
there's maybe a couple other, but that's nitpicky.
You mentioned Richmond. The only reason he was up there is because 2311 as a whole brought a great package to that weekend's race. So like,
and he got outran by Wallace again.
Yeah. So Reddick himself really did not do much this year. So I have to drop him to 9. And now getting into the top 8, these are the best 8 in NASCAR. We have the same 8.
Yeah, we both agree.
They're the top 8. No matter how you slice it, they're the best right now.
Which means that I think, and since we have the same 8, we had the round of 8 was the most talented round of 8. So I think
I didn't even think about that. This is the round of 8.
That is the round of 8. So
wow,
it's interesting to me. It is very interesting to me. Do you want to go first here, or do you want me to go first?
I want you to go first.
We're gonna be here a minute. At number 8 for me, I have Joey Logano. This guy, has had 2 seasons in a row where he was borderline or not top 10 in points. Me putting him here is because of the accolades and his playoff stature. He is great in the playoffs. I will not doubt that. He is a great playoff racer. But there are 26 races before the playoffs start. And you can chop it up to Penske not bringing the equipment, You can chalk it up to him needing a new car chief, which I know you have talked about on multiple occasions. You can even say that he doesn't try. Whatever the case is, I can't ignore it. It is there. It's an evident thing. Meaning, eighth is as high as I can go. Eighth is as high as I can go. This guy is successful in every form that of car that we've driven, but he he just lacks right now in the proof of the pudding compared to the other seven ahead of him.
I'll talk about it more when I get to number two. I'm just going to give you one word to marinate on: championships. All right, number 8, I have Chase Briscoe. So for me, of these 8 drivers, he is the least proven up to this point. He has one Final Four appearance, and but for me, Chase Briscoe, I think he's actually cut from the same cloth as Joey Logano. I think he has a clutch gene in him. He has great playoff ability. We talked about this a couple times on the show. When we get to playoff season, he always steps it up. And so in this era of NASCAR, where we have a postseason, that is the most important trait that a driver can have. And he has it. He absolutely has it. Whether it's with Stewart-Haas Racing, he was always able to step it up. And now with Joe Gibbs, second half of the year, he stepped up his game, started converting his poles to wins, and started converting his wins to making the Final Four. And although he couldn't quite get it done in the championship, I think he's absolutely on a championship trajectory. So I love what I see out of Briscoe. I have him at 8th.
Everything you said out of him, again, same thing I can apply here for number 7. He is just the next guy on my list. He, yeah, I don't know. I was not. He kind of follows the same pattern we saw out of Reddick, out of Larson. What I think we'll see out of Kyle Busch is that when they get into a more competitive car, a car that can at least compete at the front of the field on some occasion, they show up. And Chase Briscoe is another point of proof. While I don't think he's necessarily as good as Kyle Larson, as you can see by on this list, he is still very much capable of winning races. He got into a car like him and then started performing and made his Final Four for the first time after making 2 previous round of 8 appearances, 1 previous round of 8, 2 previous round of 12s. So I'll put him 7.
All right. My number 7 spot. I'll say this. My 4 through 7 were the hardest 4 positions to rank in this whole thing. My number 7 is he has a case for 2. I'll put it that way. He has a case for 2, but I have to have him at 7. It's going to be Chase Elliott. Look, Chase Elliott, he has a championship, something that a few guys on this list that are above him don't have. But for me, Chase Elliott has just kind of fallen off over the last couple years. The winning speed is gone. It kind of feels like some of the talent and the mystique around Chase Elliott has just been kind of taken off, and we're kind of left wondering how high is his ceiling actually? Because other than a couple Martinsville races here and there, I can't remember the last time he really came out with a fantastic car and went out and dominated. But pre-2023, when he had that injury, he was doing that all the time. So Chase Elliott has just kind of fallen off for me, and he doesn't have the postseason success to counter that. He's not making Final Fours. He hasn't made a Final Four since 2022. So just for me, Chase Elliott has to be a little lower on this list. I have him at 7. I think he has a case to be number 2. 2 through 7 is incredibly tight, but for me, he's done the least out of these guys.
You can just stop stealing my thunder because you got me. I have him 6.
Wow.
Everything you just said, applies to Chase Elliott. He has not won very consistently, and hasn't won with speed. He's won a lot of strategy and a lot of fortune, quite frankly, which is not something that's actually been in his vocabulary most of the seasons. But when he does win, it is very fortunate. So all those reasons you named, I would put him 6.
Yeah. Now, in my number 6 spot, again, could be 2, but I have him at 6. It's going to be Christopher Bell. Talent-wise, he might be right up there with the number 1 guy. But when you add in the performance, I think he's a little lower than some of the guys ahead of him. In a stock car, I think he's a little more limited. Put him in a dirt car, and he's going to be incredible. But I think in a stock car, his talent is just taken down a little bit, just taken down a slight notch. I still have him at 6. I still think he's phenomenal. Obviously, he won the the non-chase points, which a lot of people would care about. I really don't see the meaning of it because it's a completely. I don't know the Winston points, not
No,
non-chase. He
Winston.
won
Yeah,
the Winston
Winston.
points, which I don't care about. It's the Winston format's ridiculous, but people like it because of nostalgia. Um, I'd rather look at either the format we run or
Chaseless.
the chaseless, which Larson would have been at the top. So Bell for me, great driver, but I'm going to have him a little lower than the guys who have better resumes and more championships.
So at my 5, I have William Byron. Now, I know this is going to irk people because, like, he's had 3 seasons where he's made the Final Four. He's had 2 of them where he could have won the regular season or did win the regular season title. Actually, 3 of them, actually, right? We're at 3 now.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
he had 3 he could have or did win it. So I know everyone's going to be like, oh, how do you have him not in your top 4? William Byron, when you look at the 4 drivers ahead of him, has the least accomplished. Well, no, sorry, he doesn't have the least accomplished, but he he has shown me the most of a limit. Every other driver in front of him keeps getting better. It feels like, and like he keeps running consistently. But Byron, as a just overall skill of a driver, I feel like I'm seeing a ceiling. There's just a limit to what he can do. We get to Phoenix every year too. He doesn't have it. He simply every year he gets beat by somebody. I said it last week. He gets beat by somebody straight up. He gets beat in the playoffs. It feels like most of the time. He's always had a part of the season where he kind of falls off a little bit. Even this year, he had a little bit of a point. So I don't know, man. I'm not very I'm not a guy to knock him. He's obviously in my top 5. I think he's a very talented driver, but he just lacks a little something compared to those front 4 for me.
all right, so once again, we agree on a placement. I also have William Byron at my 5th spot. He is the highest, actually no, not the highest non-championship driver, but he's the second highest non-championship driver on my list.
Yeah.
But he is so close to breaking through. Like I think he will be a champion within the next 5 years for sure.
Oh,
Maybe
absolutely. Yeah,
he
absolutely.
might win a couple in that time. He's so good in the regular season. He's missed the thing that has been a big knock on him for me is he's missing the clutch gene in the playoffs. This year, though, I think he absolutely showed that. At Martinsville, he showed it where he got put on a bad strategy and still was able to drive up and steal the win from Blaney. And then at Phoenix, they just didn't quite have the car. But it feels like they're starting to put it together. I think next year might be the year for them. So Byron, I have a lot of faith in him, but the resume is just not quite as high as some of the guys above him.
I just beg that he doesn't win the 500 for a 3rd year in a row. Just putting that out
Yeah, and that's
there.
another thing. He has think of all
He's 2
the
500s already now.
yeah, he already has 2 500s. I mean, he has so much accomplished. So great resume for him already.
I just hope he doesn't win another one this year. I really don't want to see him go 3 in a row.
He might.
Uh, okay, so getting into the front 4, you know what? Yeah, I'll go first. I got Denny Hamlin at 4. So no, he is not the highest non-champion for me, which I know sounds insane, but look, Denny Hamlin has never been the guy to be as highly touted as he is because he's super talented, right? That's not been his thing. You look at the guys in front of him, that's been kind of their argument in a way. That's not his. Hamlin has always been look at a guy who just can run lap after lap after lap after lap after lap. When you think of guys who end underdog stories for drivers, who do you think of first?
Who end underdog stories?
Yes, I think of Denny Hamlin personally.
What does that mean?
Like, let me give you an example. Let's go to the 2019 Bristol Night Race.
Oh my gosh!
No,
Why
no,
is this a good trade?
Hold on. But I'm just answering you. What I'm getting at here is that he ends underdog stories, and he just because you know why? Because he always can run consistently. Emotion in the moment, like when there's no championship on the line, there's no achievement hanging over his head. It's just the win. I don't think there's necessarily a better driver than Denny Hamlin. Because when you take all of that extra stuff out of it, he's just purely runs lap, lap, lap. You think of Kyle Larson. The 2 times Kyle Larson has beat him, there was something important on the line. So when there wasn't, which sounds dumb to say, Denny Hamlin outran him every time, and we both have Larson ahead of him. So I'm just throwing that as my main point out here. I think we all know how good he is, so I don't think I need to re-echo that by why I have him 4th.
So what I'm getting at is If Denny Hamlin has to race a world class driver like Kyle Larson, he's cooked. But if he has to race Matt Benedetto,
No,
he's fine. Is what you're getting at.
what I'm saying is he most of the time those underdog drivers falter under the emotion of the moment. He doesn't, except for a championship. I don't know why. Again, I
Which
don't.
is the bit that is the
That's
moment. He
the
does
moment.
falter,
But
but
like it.
anyway, I
But
have
like
him higher than you. I
yeah,
don't know why I'm
yeah.
talking him down.
While you're arguing me, like I should have him
Yeah.
higher or lower. I mean,
So at my number 4 spot, I have Ryan Blaney. A lot of people are not going to like it. You are not going to like it. You're going to think he's too low. A lot of people are going to think I have him too high, though. But for the same reasons I have Logano high, I just think that ultimately, the biggest thing in NASCAR is winning a championship and having the clutch gene to go get it done in the playoffs. And Ryan Blaney absolutely has that. It's just it's the thing that Penske has. You know, whether it's Logano or Blaney, they just know how
not
to step it
Cindric.
up at the end of the year. Not Cendric, no, not Cendric, but like Blaney is just like he's on another level, and I'm completely ready to say that he's better than Chase Elliott. You know that was a debate when they were
For a
both
long
rookies,
time.
Blaney and
Long
Elliott,
time.
who was better. What?
Long time. That was a long time debate.
Yeah, a long time ago, that was a debate, and Chase Elliott kind of shut that debate down pretty quickly. But at this moment, I'm prepared to say that Blaney's actually better than Elliott, and I do have him higher on this list. I give Blaney a lot of credit for his end of year success, and last year was I think his best year yet. I think it was better than the year he won the championship. He just didn't quite have the pace at Martinsville to end up getting him into the Final Four, which I think if he gets into the Final Four, he probably wins the title. So Blaney to me could very well be the next Logano, a guy to go win 3 championships. So yeah.
He reminds me a lot of Kevin Harvick. And what I mean by that is a guy who came into the sport highly touted, right? He was always a very talented driver. It took a little while. Like he won, but it wasn't. But like something was very obviously missing with Blaney. Same with Harvick when he was early in his RCR tenure. But over time, he became a more consistent driver, a faster driver. Consistently got up closer to the front, started stealing wins away. He started to become the guy everyone didn't want to win because he was winning. He started winning in the moments that people wanted different drivers to win. He just reminds me of Kevin Harvick a lot. I'll get to why I actually have him ranked higher in a moment, but let's go to number 3. Actually, do you want to go first here? I think you kind of hinted at it, but
So at my number 3 spot, I have Denny Hamlin. So for me, Denny Hamlin he has the most wins of active drivers. Zach, he has more than Busch at this point, right?
no, second.
He does not have more than
Second
Busch.
most.
Okay, so he's second. But Denny Hamlin has a fantastic resume. He just doesn't have the championships yet. Here is the thing that makes Denny high for me. He has one massive case that puts him up here. In my opinion, he was a Chris Gabehart merchant, 100%. He was not great with Mike Wheeler. He wasn't great with who was his crew chief?
I think he had Mike Ford at one point.
Yeah, he had all these crew chiefs, and he was good. He won races, but he didn't have like that next level speed and next level talent that we were looking for out of Denny. And then he got with Chris Gabehart, and he showed it. You know what I mean? He started winning races, was contending for championships, could have won a couple here and there, but some things didn't go his way. And so for me, I always viewed him as a Chris Gabehart merchant. Then 2025, he loses Chris Gabehart and has one of the best years of his entire career.
You could argue the best.
So that to me, you think it was the best?
You could argue the best. I'm not saying I do
Maybe,
or don't think so.
Yeah, maybe the best. So for me, that is just a massive statement. And so I'm not a Denny Hamlin fan, I'll admit that, but I have to give him a massive round of applause because it shows that he was not a Chris Gabehart merchant. He had just had a good combo with Chris Gabehart, and it almost like it kind of brought out the best in Denny, and now Denny is driving the best of his career. He's showing that he doesn't need Gabehart anymore. Gabehart brought out the best in him, and now he's showing truly how good he is and how much talent he has.
I don't have Hamlin as the best GTR driver. I don't have Hamlin as the best driver without a championship. This is not a knock on Denny Hamlin. This is a praise to the guy that I think is going to win a championship in the next 3 years. I don't know which, but one of the next 3. That's Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell will, I think, be the guy that we look at like Matt Kenseth. He'll always have a kryptonite that he just cannot overcome. but he'll still win one championship. I don't know when, but it'll happen. And I think he's actually more talented overall than Kenseth was in his time. But Bell just, and I can't even say he lacks a clutch gene. This guy goes into the playoffs, he always runs well. I can't, like, he should have made the Final Four. Again, this was another year where I'm like, Bell should have made the Final Four. So it's not that. He does everything right. He just seems like the guy who I just can't put at one. Because he just doesn't, something's missing. He doesn't lead laps this year. The last year he was inconsistent. The year before that, I think he was missing, I don't remember. He was like lacking top 5 or something. I don't remember. There's always one stat, and it always sticks out. It's very glaring. This year was laps led. That's kind of part of the reason I have him where I do. I think he's a very talented driver, but I think when you chop down to it, the two guys I had ahead of him are more consistent, have more success, and are frankly a little bit better. Which I guess leads us to our 2, and I know who we both have at 1, which makes this debate very fun.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to just say who we have here? Because I know who you have, and you know who I have.
Do you think you know who I have?
I'm positive. You have Joey Logano at 2, and I have Ryan Blaney at 2.
It sounds like, I think that's what we have. All right, I'm going to unveil mine.
Yeah.
At number 2, I have our most recent champion. No, I'm playing.
Yeah, he's a straight rage baiting me.
I have Joey Logano in my second spot. And there's a couple reasons for that. Performance-wise, over the last 2 years, he's not been a top 5 driver. Resume, he has the second best resume of any driver in NASCAR right now. I think Kyle Busch's is better.
You took Accolade. Accolade mattered a lot more to you than it did to me here. That's
not only that, but I also think that Joey Logano, talent-wise, is absolutely belonging to be up here, because I think that the talent is there because there's a couple things I want to take a look at. All the races that are big money-paying races for Team Penske: playoffs, Clash, All-Star race. Those are the 3 races Penske cares about because those bring in the big bucks. Who is always leading the most laps and winning all those races?
Blaney or Logano.
It's mostly Penske, but more than anything, it's Joey Logano. He's been the quickest car in the last 2 All-Star races. He's already won. Has he won 2 in the next year, or was just 1 Clash?
He won the Coliseum race.
He won the Coliseum Clash.
And Blaney has an All-Star for what it's worth. So.
Yeah, and Logano won the 24 All-Star race. Should have won the 25 All-Star race, but we had the fun caution. And then who was it that dropped the flag?
I genuinely don't even
Michael
remember.
Waltrip? I don't remember. Some goober, but anyway. And then we look at the playoffs, and the playoff success is absolutely there. 7 seasons, 3 championships. He almost has a 50% championship rate. So when it matters most, nobody is better than him. He's stepping it up and winning these championships. And although I don't,
by the way.
What?
It's 8 seasons, by the way. 2018, 19, 20, and then 5 years extra. It's 8.
Oh, is it 8?
It's 8. I'm just correcting your math. I didn't want you to look like a.
He won 3 and 7, I think.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's still 3 and 7, but you're counting this year, I'm assuming.
Oh, okay. Okay, so if I count this year, he's won 3 of 8. So
3 and 8.
Still a great record. So anyway, so just for me, I have to have Logano at 2 when the talent is there, the resume is there, the championships are there. He has everything going for him to be a top 2 driver, except for regular season success over the last 2 seasons of his entire career.
Okay. Well, let me knock down why I think this is why you have him here. Joey Logano, while yes, his resume is valuable, has arguably the most Mickey Mouse championship in history, which I know is a dumb coined term, but it is. Me and you can both agree. His 2024 championship is, by almost any metric, illegitimate, right? You can agree.
I mean, it's the worst statistical championship.
I'm just asking. Like, he won it, but we both agree he shouldn't have been in position to win it, right?
The team should not have been in a position to win it.
I know you're trying to avoid saying that I'm right. Whatever.
No, I agree. I don't think the 22 team should have been able to win the
title. You're not
saying
match. Joey Logano. You're saying the team.
Joey Logano as a driver did all he could do. He did everything perfect.
Okay, this is the whole debate.
He drove the car he was given to a championship. He was
You
given a
can't
ridiculous
you
car for
can't
26
use
weeks.
you can't use the fact that, oh well, they're not giving him the car if we don't know for sure. Now, if we go into this year, let's say NASCAR does this full season format that they've been considering. If they do that and he goes right to the top of the points, every criticism anyone has immediately gets stripped away. Because then you can be like, oh, well, then Penske was thinking. And then you look right. And you know what? Yeah, I'll give you the flowers, I'll give Logano his props, and he'll go up to my list. However, that's an if. Based on what has happened so far. He runs mid in the regular season. He turns it up in the playoffs. I'd argue Blaney's a little bit better in the playoffs, but that's just my own personal opinion. I need to see him do a full season again. If that's NASCAR changing the format, I don't know what it takes, but I need another full season where I see him just run well, run at the top of the field, win more than like one regular season race. That's what I need from him. And for all those reasons, that's why I never had Blaney ahead of Elliott, because he wasn't winning in the regular season consistently. He was inconsistent, was never up at the front of the points. Blaney the last 2 years has flipped the script, and he would have won the. And I hate saying ifs, but in this instance, he genuinely would have won the regular season title had he not had 8 DNFs on the year, 8. So that statistic alone leads me to be like, wow, this guy was gonna kind of mop the field. He should be in my number 2 spot. I can't in goodwill put him behind Christopher Bell, who hasn't won a championship, Denny Hamlin, who has more wins but hasn't won a championship and has consistent clutch issue moments, and then the rest of the guys who I think he's just straight up beat the rest of the seasons. So all that being said, Blaney at 2 for me, Logano being where he is for me. And that leaves us number 1.
I don't think we
Who?
have much disagreement on
Yeah,
this one.
I don't know. Who else, right?
Maybe the best race car driver in the world, Kyle Larson,
Whoa.
at number 1.
That's a statement. I don't agree.
Look, you could argue who's the best race car driver in the world. Is
Scott
it him?
McLaughlin.
Is it Max Verstappen? Is it
It's Scott
SVG?
McLaughlin.
It could be Scott McLaughlin. But I think Kyle Larson is absolutely in that debate, and he is the most talented driver in NASCAR. And
Yes.
adding another championship to his resume this year just further cements his place at the top. So there's really not much to talk about. He's the top. He's at the top. And we, even back when he was at Ganassi, we all speculated that he could be at the top if he got a good car. Goes to Hendrick, and it takes him how many years to win a championship?
0, technically. It took him no years. It took him 1.
He won it in 1 season. That's incredible.
I remember I said on the podcast, he has to win a championship this year, or at least make the Final Four to re-establish himself. Like, hey, I am still the best driver. Did just that. He did exactly what I asked of him. So he's the best driver. Until someone can go and have a Jimmy Johnson type of arc, I think Connor Zilic is capable of this. But if somebody else doesn't have that type of arc, I don't know who's knocking him off until Larson decides he's either done with NASCAR or he has a talent fall off. So
there is absolutely. I can tell you one scenario we're really close to where someone can knock him off. If Joey Logano dominates the field and wins the championship in a new format, he will surpass Larson, because I think it shows.
Wow.
I think that will genuinely. Would you not
as
agree?
a general race car driver? I mean, how what do you mean knocks the field stock though? Like if he wins by 100 points?
Well, okay, so if he controls the format like he's doing now with the playoffs, and controls it with a new format, whether it be the chase or the regular points, then I think he would go to the top.
It would take me multiple seasons on that regard. If he did it twice, I'd say so. I'd say
so.
It's
If he had 4 championships, double Larson, you still think Larson would be higher?
I'd put Larson higher.
But also, they'd be harder for you because you have him at 8. For me, he would move.
Yes.
To 1.
Oh well. Yes. You're moving him 1 spot. I'm moving him 7 if that happens.
For
like
you,
that's a bigger jump.
Yeah. So that makes sense.
Like Logano would enter my top 5 instantly.
But like for me, if Logano, if we go to the chase format next year and Logano wins the championship, how is what he is doing? It's not much different than what Jimmy Johnson was doing, winning in other different formats.
That's the thing. So, but that's an if, and it's speculation, which is why I cannot move him up right now.
Yeah.
If again, we change format, he succeeds in that format, he's done everything that we basically have asked of him.
Yeah.
He just does the job.
Well, that's why I don't have him at 1, because we haven't seen it yet.
But if we go to the full season format, or even the chase, and he still runs in 10th to 15th in points, I'm then going to have a problem. Then I'm going to have a problem. But we'll see. That's if that gets there. We've already talked about it on the show. They've heard plenty of different formats. We'll see how that goes. But unless you've got any other talent or anything you want to talk about, I've kind of got it out of my system.
No, that's it for me.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I got nothing else. You got nothing else. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap us up here. Thank you guys for watching a very long episode of Sideline to Speedway. I hope it filled your needs as we tried to. We got shorter and more off-season content coming your way. Um, we believe that Kyle Larson is the consensus number one in the sport. If you think differently, tell us otherwise down below. Thank you guys again for joining us on Sideline the Speedway, and we'll see you guys next week for a season review of NASCAR.
Thank you guys.